Maximus might be gone, but Rome still stands. For now, at least. But will Gladiator II be able to stand the test of time? Or are some stories better left untold?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yo, my name is AJ, and if you like movies, TV, and anime, you found the right place. The wait is finally over. Gladiator II is out, and we can finally have some closure. Well, depending on who you ask. If you ask me, Gladiator II is your prototypical sequel. Some might even say it's a retelling of the original story. But at the end of the day, that's not necessarily for me to decide. What I am here to discuss is the here and now. And what we have here is your standard revenge plot with a small dash of political intrigue. Not enough for my liking, but I gotta give credit where credit is due. They did have a couple good storylines in this jump.
You will be my instrument.
I will never be your instrument in this life or the next.
Plus, it wasn't too long ago that I rewatched Gladiator for the first time in a minute. So going into this movie, I had a couple of theories running through my head, mainly pondering the different direction that this film could go, especially since it's been over 2 decades.
Damn!
I mean, how would you attack the challenge of trying to top a classic? Do you try to stick with the status quo, or do you come at it at a different angle or with a twist? Well, Gladiator 2 attempted to do all three, and as a result, they spread themselves way too thin if you ask me. It's almost like they were playing in the orchestra and right before the grand crescendo, a quarter of the band stopped playing because they ran out of sheet music. Now I get it, it's a crude analogy, but you get the point. Major moments that were tide shifting came up shallow because they was trying to do too much. But trust me, I appreciate the effort. I just wish they spent a little bit more time building up the characters instead of the situation. Maybe then I would have felt the gravity of the situation a little bit more. But don't get me wrong, they dropped plenty of bars in this joint, whether it was coming from Paul Mescal's Lucius or Pedro Pascal as General Acacius. It's just once you get past that initial intrigue and you can see all the players on the board, the writing is on the wall for a lot of these story beats, sometimes even literally.
No cap!
So to say that this is a direct copycat of the first movie isn't entirely wrong. It just means that Gladiator 2 is missing that foundational work that will help it stand out. It's almost like they couldn't decide whether they wanted to make a coming of age story or just a straight up revenge plot. And unfortunately, the small flashbacks they did give us were not enough to make Lucius half as compelling as Maximus. From an optic standpoint, it just feels like Gladiator 2 is just a more extreme version of the first movie.
Same, but different, but still same.
Now, the person that actually stole the show was, of course, none other than Denzel Washington as Macrinus, which at this point, none of us should really be surprised. But going to this movie, I was super curious about how they were going to bring him into the fold as a new character. Even though at this point, I don't really think it would matter based on Denzel Washington's career, because he can elevate pretty much any role, or should I say any role that he chooses to take on, because we know that Denzel is not just out here taking any role that comes across his desk.
Yeah, that brother's starving.
Pedro Pascal, on the other hand, kind of plays to his competition in a sense, because I wouldn't say that I was disappointed in his performance per se, but I did expect a little bit more from his character, you know, to live up to the hype in a sense.
I am the hype!
Granted, you can only go as far as the script leads you, but Macrinus turned out to be the most interesting character out the bunch. And it's not just because Denzel Washington is playing him, but more so because his character had the most ambition. The two emperors were created just for you to dislike them, nothing more, nothing less. General Acacius was tired of the bloodshed and really just wanted to retire with his wife, while Lucius was doing chosen one type things, ended up coming across a little bland at times.
Hi, how are you?
And Lucilla was there mainly just to stir the plot, but she really didn't add no seasonings.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
I'm sorry, I know that was a bad joke, but honestly, it's really just because nobody had no real plans for their future. So in a sense, all that really mattered was right now. And shoot, you might say that's how it should be. And in most cases, I think you'd be right. But in this case, since Gladiator 2 is a sequel, there's an initial feeling of hope of what could, eventually be. But instead, they went down a similar path as the first film, where there's sort of like a direct end in sight.
But I will have my vengeance.
Now, inherently, I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think if they would have took a different approach, that final flip would have hit way harder. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm hating, because I'm not. Right, Gladiator 2 is a very entertaining movie. I also think it's worth seeing in theaters, because the moments they were actually in the Coliseum were epic. Gladiators was really gladiating, right?
This is war! Real war!
I mean, bro, they even had sharks in that joint. Like, what are we talking about? Now, don't ask me how they did it, because I'm not no historian, but it was dope nonetheless. And overall, I think this movie was fun to watch. There's just a lot of give and take that comes with this film. There's just some stuff that, you know, you just gotta roll with it, which is why I would give Gladiator 2 an 8 out of 10 G5 score. Now, if you want to hear a more in-depth conversation about Gladiator 2, definitely check out the Why I'm Geek show here on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Now, in closing, Gladiator 2 is not a bad movie. It's just not as great as I wanted it to be. And who knows, maybe after another watch, I might feel differently. But as of right now, today, I think it was cool. I mean, trying to best Russell Crowe's Maximus is no easy feat. But that's all I got for Gladiator 2, man. If you enjoyed this review, here's another one that we think you would like. But before you go, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on one of my weekly reviews. And I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.